Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Hot Takes with us.
It's an episode.
We're going to be playing Civ 5 while we do our podcast today. We're going to be speaking about a couple of interesting characters that have made quite a name for themselves in the media, and Milo Yiannopoulos, and formerly known as Kanye West, who is now Ye West. Kanye's always been a meme. Why do you think he got a name change?
He's done this like 4 times, hasn't he? Like, didn't he name himself Yeezy for a while or something?
That was him?
Yeah.
Isn't his daughter's name North, so it was Northwest? I'm going to Google who is Yeezy. Then the autocorrect that comes up is who is Yeezy owned by. Unless you have been living under a rock, which I wouldn't blame you at this point, you have heard that Kanye West got on Infowars of all places with the infamous Alex Jones and was saying some provocative things after the whole Taylor Swift incident where he cut her off on stage speaking that Beyonce won the award or whatever. That was the last thing I had heard or really cared about him. I didn't know about all the Yeezy stuff. It's just not really, my genre of music. But he recently has gotten into the public eye. And he looks like an absolutely crazy person. And he actually called out Ben Shapiro in the interview. And Ben Shapiro is really digging into the whole mental illness thing. That's what I first thought when I saw it, right? That's what the topic is for today. We're going to be talking about what we think that was all about. What the game is glitching out on me. It's hard to describe what's happening here. Success.
He's not going to become the president of the United States. He's just not. So, is there some kind of meta narrative where he's trying to draw support for himself to expose people who actually espouse his beliefs? I don't know. It all feels very psyop-y to me. I'm very interested in what True Stream Media would say about it. That's a couple of people on YouTube. Surely it's not this egregious.
I think he has a lot of disdain for a certain type of people, and they have shown their hand to him. So he is going crazy. On the show, he was trying to say, oh, but they built roads, and yes, their industry and medical advances influence a lot of our education today. If he was trying to be funny, he did it all wrong. And what he fails to remember is that he would have been put in a concentration camp.
It could be that simple. He feels like the Jewish establishment has ruined his life, and now he's got to get retribution on them by trying to use his platform. Since he doesn't have money anymore, he's still got a platform, he's still got followers. Maybe he says, I'm going to use this to get these guys back for everything they did to me. I suppose that is possible. Is it probable? I don't know. It's really hard to tell.
I'm with Attila the Huns and George Washington. Wait, what? Attila the Hun has declared war on me. I'm south of America by the water. What do I do?
Hide your kids, hide your wife. This whole situation is just so volatile and it's so unpredictable. This is beyond bold move territory. I mean, his career is over. He will never get a record deal ever again. I really don't even know what to make of it.
You can't take someone seriously who changed their name 3 times.
How far are you going to take that one? I'm just saying, there are people trying to change their name every day along with their pronouns, saying we shouldn't take them seriously either.
He has this new name just so people can't argue dead naming anymore. So I wonder what really happened with the whole dinner thing. It was Kanye and Trump were gonna go to dinner.
That dinner was Nick Fuentes. He's like a kid. I don't understand any of this, to be honest. I guess this is what happens when you try to get inside the mind of a mentally ill individual.
It also seems that Donald Trump is not very happy about dinner. This Nick guy is leader of this. Kanye just kind of brought him along. He's 24 years old. He's, involved in all this. Maybe he sees the mental decline of Kanye West and wants to take advantage of that for clout. This could be something that just wants to divide the Republican Party.
I know that Kanye was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. That much is true. I can get on board with the whole thing of maybe this is all Kanye's mental illness sort of exposing itself. And maybe it is, and if that's the case, then he needs therapy. He needs treatment. He doesn't need to be a darling for the media. The problem here, though, is I think that there's a sect of people who do actually believe that, elements of the Jewish establishment are destroying the world.
If we're thinking that it is a possibility or at least an argument, then the argument comes to they took all of his money, so that made him crazy.
Yeah, and so if he's trying to stir up that base of people, what's his end game here? I don't know. Does he think that these people are in large enough numbers to where they'd be able to back him into having a political platform of some kind? Who is he talking to right now? Just anybody who will listen? Why are people listening to him? Why are people giving him the platforms? It seemed like Alex Jones was visibly, I don't know if irritated is the word, but what good did Alex Jones expect to find of putting him on the program when he already knows the things that Kanye is talking about? You know, Alex has been under a lot of scrutiny lately with the whole Sandy Hook thing, and he's got this big judgment against him. Maybe he saw Kanye as an opportunity to like clear his name a little bit. At least I'm not as crazy as this guy. What rationalization is there having Kanye West on your show when you know the type of rhetoric he's spewing?
Is he like a useful idiot, or is he a patsy, or is he just like burning it all down?
Then they didn't even address the Balenciaga stuff. Like, that wasn't even brought up. And arguably, that's the most important thing going on in that whole situation right now. Like,
yeah,
that's something that needs to be addressed. And Kanye, he needs to state what's going on. Like, what's his role in all that? So
Kanye West has children with Miss Kardashian, one of them. So I'd like to know more about Balenciaga.
I know they got caught up in some kind of trafficking thing, and they posted some picture of some like BDSM doll or something with a kid or something. And I know they're under a lot of fire, and there's a lot of celebrities who are implicated into it. But that's no surprise. I mean, that's nothing new to anybody who's been paying attention.
Last year, I had my own little run-in with a pedophile. I looked evil in the face. Did Balenciaga do that to raise awareness? What happened as a result? People are looking into the subject, I guess. But why isn't Kanye?
I guess he doesn't really need to, does he?
He has kids. Where are his children? Are they staying with mommy when she's not working? She's a working mother.
Along with a lot of this anti-Semitic stuff that you hear, one of the biggest conspiracies is that the Jewish people are covering up a lot of these child trafficking rings. So why isn't Kanye saying that?
And maybe that's why Alex Jones was looking a little perturbed, because like he had just played on Infowars a thing about Balenciaga. And I mean, I don't know if Kanye knew that's what they played during commercials, but I don't know why Alex Jones didn't talk to him about that either. Why did no one ask? And that other guy, Nick, he didn't talk much. I'd need to see it again, because I wonder what the chain of events was. Because at one point Kanye took time on the air to say a prayer, but then he also like turned it over to Nick to talk about the dinner. Also think it's just convenient that, you know, everyone's painting Kanye with mental illness, but he's also identifying as a Christian.
The reason they're all hitting him with his mental illness thing is they're doing the exact thing that all these liberals say not to do. They're using his bipolar disorder as a reason to not listen to him. I mean, obviously, you know, you don't need to be walking around saying your platform is I like Hitler. You're not going to get listened to by saying that kind of thing. They're casting it off for his views, but they're also dismissing him entirely because of his mental illness. And he does have bipolar disorder.
Right.
He's diagnosed. Yeah, he's been diagnosed with that a long time ago.
And it's not about facts or even your opinion, since everyone's a narcissist. It's about who's the most persuasive.
Well, that's what Milo said, yeah. And you can't even really say, does Kanye have a point about anything anymore? Because, like, Kyrie Irving tried that and he got shut down, you know?
What's going on with that exactly?
He apologized and said he was wrong and all this stuff. He posted a link on Twitter or something to a documentary that's on Amazon talking about the history of black Jews and how there's a group of like Africans who are of Jewish descent. And that angered the Jewish establishment, and they came after him. They gave him like some 5 or 6 step plan he had to do to continue playing basketball. He had to go through some sort of like sensitivity training or something. I don't know exactly what all it was.
Yeah, that's all confidential, I'm sure. He was only sharing something he found on Amazon. Like, he didn't even write the media that, you know, he was talking about.
Yeah, so then, you know, it's funny that now after the fact, here comes Kanye out with his crazy talk. You know, it's almost like, what if Kanye is just there to distract from people like Kyrie, trying to make people watch some interesting perspectives on history they may not have seen before? I think it goes without saying that Kanye's unhinged.
Instead of addressing, you know, any of the concerns he might have, don't give him a stage, get him help instead, which I understand that sentiment as well. But I mean, Infowars said, sure, come on up.
You know, I have my own views on the global political spheres and the role of things, and I think that there is an anti-West sentiment going on right now. I think there's a lot of that in the world.
He's literally Kanye and or Ye West and or Yeezy.
That's a point. He says, remove any and all forms of pornography from Twitter. Pornography is the product of pedophilia. They're watching someone else's daughter relive trauma for money.
Interesting.
Wow, Kim Kardashian actually sounds reasonable. What is this world coming to? Same woman who was on television eating placenta sounds like a reasonable human being. What is happening now?
She is very much partly to blame. Maybe he's pretending to be a Christian.
Probably. He's got to be pandering somehow, right? This can't be real. Like,
I really am interested to see what some of my favorite Black creators have to say about this. It all seems a little too crazy to comprehend, and so people can easily just say you're crazy for talking about it. The entropy is reaching a critical mass.
it doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe Kanye West is just crazy. You know, it's funny. Like 15, 16 years ago, Crack.com released an article that was called "What If Kanye West Were Retarded?" And
really?
They kept talking about all these scenarios that Kanye was creating for himself, and the end of the paragraph to say, "What if Kanye West were just retarded?"
Wow.
I'm starting to wonder if they weren't onto something. Maybe he's just so messed up in the head that he doesn't even know what he's doing. That maybe it's just a mentally ill backlash. You know, like, you talk
He's just trying to express his feelings, okay? Kanye, now identified as Ye, believes that he feels a certain way, and he thinks he should be heard.
The problem with his whole platform is that, like, he's calling out Jewish culture, but he's not even talking about a specific thing that he thinks is an issue. Like, yes, I think that as a result of all the things that happened to the Jews, I think that the world has disproportionately overreacted, and now they have a disproportionate amount of power and influence because of the West's, like, adherence to Israel and protecting Israel, and so now they have basically the entire American military in their pocket. I'm not talking about the Jewish people, like, I'm talking about the Jewish state. I don't even know who he's trying to attack here. Like, what's he?
And he said he loves Milo. New ship, Milo and Kanye.
How could Milo be okay with him if he's so anti-Semitic? Like, it just doesn't make sense. I am baffled.
I did not hear of Milo until I heard of this whole thing with Kanye and what's his name?
It's just so weird to think of Milo and Kanye West working together amidst all this stuff.
You read his book?
I heard about him when he was coming up. I remember seeing some incredibly offensive thing he said and thought it was hilarious. He kind of fell off the map. I mean, he was a huge provocateur. It was like he took the identity politics concept and just said, like, just identify me as everything. He did not care who he offended. Listening to his old stuff shows me how much things have changed just over the past 5 or 6 years, because the things he said, you couldn't say now at all.
So I had just learned about this Milo Yiannopoulos guy because of Kanye West.
I wonder if he wasn't put in place on purpose to keep people from being able to speak freely, to kind of give a new standard of, like, how to control people's speech or what problematic speech is. Because by that logic, I mean, he definitely fits the paradigm of problematic people, you know what I mean? The reason he's even relevant right now, he was seen with Kanye West.
Detransitioning from gay because of his abuse from the Catholic Church, it all seems a little too convenient. And maybe, maybe he's in on it too. Maybe he thinks that he could maybe get some clout from being around Kanye as well, trying to get back at the very same people that he would talk about who made him a star, took that away from him too, because one day, he said too much.
I don't really know what his intentions are.
I don't know. He's having an identity crisis.
Anti-gay now, apparently. It thinks that gays should go through conversion therapy.
And, Kanye is willing to take everyone down with him. Will he end up suicided?
I don't think so.
Too high profile?
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't know how steel beams work.
He hasn't said anything about any of that kind of thing at all.
I know, that's a joke. But I mean, Milo will get treated just like the D-trans people are.
Oh yeah, he's de-gaying. That you definitely can't do that. He's already been plastered as alt-right, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
People memed on Kanye when we were in high school, but like, even change.org wants in on the fun, what? Yeah, Kanye is upset with the Jews that hurt him. Not every Jew has hurt people and or Kanye West, but apparently some Jewish people have. And playing the victim all the time can't work, right? What if that's next? What if Kanye plays victim? Then what? I have children and my wife is a porn star, but we don't know anything about grooming. We don't know anything about that. Just because the subject is mental illness, don't just shrug him off as crazy. Still talk about it.
The topics are worth discussing. How do you have a fair conversation with somebody about this stuff in this really heightened, tense culture? I mean, that's the topic that needs to happen. Like, how do you have a civil discussion about these things when people just assume that you're some kind of a racist or something if you even bring up certain topics that really merit discussion? There's going to be some hard months ahead of us for everybody when all these things unravel more, I think.
You can't let the hate take over you, man. You can't let the rage come in first, or else you end up like Kanye. That's a man led with psychotic rage, you know? He is angry because some system took some of his money, a substantial amount of his money, and he just wants to watch it all burn. And that's the society we have created. If you shut people down before you even hear their opinions, you are contributing to the fire. I don't know if I would feel differently if I had $400 million. Having a lot of money changes you. I'm a millennial. I used to believe in the Democrats. I wrote in Bernie Sanders. One of my friends got really mad at me about that. But, you know, I guess I was stupid for not telling her I voted for Hillary. Duh. Not sure what the country would be like if he had become president. You know, the whole slogan was hindsight is 2020. Well, guess what happened in 2020? COVID. There are people that have these thoughts, but they just won't say it. And that's why we're on the internet to say it. But who are we, you know? We can't say who we are because that's to protect ourselves. What Kanye is going to have to protect him, I'm imagining, is the mental illness thing. I don't know. That's what I think. We'll take you to a really nice quote unquote rehab center. It'll be in the hills, the Beverly Hills. He'll have a personal therapist, mental and physical, and he'll still have to see his wife and his children. People don't want to talk about that. I don't know what people do want to talk about. People don't want to talk about anything. They'd rather just show their instead of talking about anything. Metaphorically and also literally. You can't just go in and say, F them, fuck that, fuck anyone with this opinion. You can't do that. And so many people are doing that. I'm a boomer. I'm 30 years old, but you know, I believe in conspiracy theories. Now, not all conspiracy theories are created equally. Even people who went to college don't have critical thinking skills. Free speech, blah, blah, blah. Comedy is dead. Well, I mean, the internet makes it so you don't know who's who anymore. People don't have to put a face to the name. Who are you, Balenciaga? But who are we? In order to talk to people about these subjects, you have to bring it up in a way that doesn't give your hand too early. You can't say the shit that Kanye said, obviously. Someone who already has an established label of themselves in this society, they believe in labels so much, right? You need to let them understand your point of view, but in a way that's more objective. Open discussion is important.
We're past that point. There is no open discussion anymore.
I think people are looking for their own validation so hard that like no one can have an original thought. Confirmation bias is out of control.
People are so polarized. The only way that it's ever going to change is if there's some kind of catalytic event that forces everyone to come together. And I don't think that's even possible anymore because people aren't open to having discussions.
I mean, that's a fair argument. I feel more comfortable talking about this stuff to an anonymous audience than people I have called my friends for 15 years because there's no open discourse. People either brush you off, go off on you, or like they don't take you seriously. They completely ignore you.
Our culture was being usurped before you even had a chance to realize what was going on.
And I hope that people are waking up to it. But, you know, there are so many distractions everywhere. Just don't let this Kanye thing just be a distraction. Like, make it a point of discussion. Everyone wants to sign petitions. Like, what do you think Apple Music and Spotify are doing behind the scenes?
Like, you can't retrofit that solution and the ship has already sailed, you know? Like I said, at this point, there has to be some kind of a collapse and everyone has to be forced to unify by something. And the last time that happened was 9/11. I'm not saying there needs to be another 9/11, but what I'm saying is that it's going to take some kind of catalytic event for people to unify by anything anymore because that's the culture that we're in. Like, you can't talk it out with people anymore. That's over.
That's crazy, man. If something horrible happens and lives are lost, then people are going to have to start thinking about what really matters. Food, water. If you're in Germany, your heat and your water. But America, they always get the sad puppy dog commercials about kids not having water in other countries when their water's full of fluoride. So I went to college. I have college loans, but I was taught critical thinking skills and philosophy. I was taught to respect. But me having a different opinion than you isn't disrespect. It isn't hate speech. Tom McDonald says there's a difference between hate speech and speech that you hate. Not every liberal is dumb and not all Republicans are racist. I am respectful. At least I try to be. But I can only give you as much respect as you give me. And if you would rather not have the conversation than respect it, what does that say about you? It's all about you. You. But only things about you that you want other people to hear. You're allowed to tell everyone else what you are. No one else is allowed to have opinion on what you are.
If you're a right-winger, they can tell you exactly what you are.
That's funny.
It's just soft censorship. That's all this whole thing is. It's cultural censorship. There's going to be a war eventually, and that's going to be the only thing that's really going to change anything.
I stand with
Everyone-
Ukraine, okay? You mean a war in America?
Yes.
Between Antifa and somebody.
A civil war. It's going to be everybody fighting against everyone, and no one's even going to know what they're fighting against.
Who said it first? You'll have nothing and you'll like it.
Charles Schwab.
Are there any millennials watching this? How many of you own a home? Just curious.
Asking for a friend.
Not me, of course. I have no friends. I already stated this. All my friends would rather live in their own delusions. And because I do not want to engage in their delusions, even if that means I don't get to indulge in my own narcissism, then they want nothing to do with it. Some people I consider friends are just accepting of it and just give up, letting yourself go. But it is really disheartening to think that people that I have met in real life will berate me for posting something on social media. And so now you have to make a choice. You either have to face it or you have to deny to your grave. You can't get any vibes from people online. You can't tell like how they act. Oh, that's when the internet gets real, right? I'm a very perceptive person. I look at people's tics, how they speak, their inflection, how often they speak, what they do they move their hands? But maybe that's because I'm neurodivergent. This girl got triggered in my Facebook comments yesterday over Helena Bonham Carter saying J.K. Rowling had an opinion. Literally sent me a link of justgoogleit.com because I asked for a source because she said that the science is bullshit. She's like, I don't have time to argue with transphobes, and then continues to have time to argue. I am not a transphobe. I fear nothing.
Why is it phobia? Why do they use the term phobia? I don't have a mental breakdown when a gay person or a trans person or a Muslim or whatever walks up to me. I have concerns about the impact of certain alternative lifestyles on the culture as a whole, and I believe that some of those issues need to be warranted before we just open our borders with regards to what is and is not just completely socially allowed and acceptable. I believe that if people aren't hurting anybody else with what they do, that's fine. But I do think that cultures and lifestyles that are outside of what the social strata has found acceptable should be scrutinized to make sure that they are still safe and healthy to maintain the culture as it is. And I think if someone counters your argument by saying, oh, well, why do you want to maintain culture as it is? Then they are attacking you, and they are saying, like, we want to replace your culture with ours because we don't like your culture. And if that is the case, then yes, I think it merits scrutiny, and it's not a fearful thing. If you are invested in something, other groups and entities do not have the right to take that which you've invested away from you without justification. So if they want to usurp the culture you have helped to establish and maintain throughout your life with something they deem more important, then I believe they should have to justify that. And I don't believe that they should have carte blanche to say, well, because you're white, you are a colonizer. Therefore, we are going to usurp your culture. Caucasian American culture is a byproduct of colonization. That's just not okay. You can't do that elsewhere. You can't go anywhere in the world, really, and say, well, we don't like what your culture has done, so we're coming in to take it from you. Now, America, on the whole, in the military sense, has done that with a lot of different groups. And we as individuals, and we as just regular old white people, we can't do that.
Geneva. What is the Geneva Convention?
Well, Geneva's a city. It was basically designed to kind of set rules on military engagement moving forward, like how you can engage militarily, legally. Also, like the use of nuclear weapons, like what's allowed, that kind of thing.
I see.
But the American government has kind of set that precedent that, you know, the America can just come in and take over, and that could be what started this whole thing. It could just be America set the example of, you don't like something about another culture, just go in and blow everything up and get rid of all of it and replace it. And that could have set the paradigm up for everybody else to say, hey, America does it, why don't we do it too? And that could be what's going on with all of this cultural replacement that's going on in the U.S. I don't know that for sure. It's speculation.
This is a time where you have to speculate and think for yourself, because nothing else that will tell you how to think like them will be honest in these places that you look for information on the TV, on screens. You know, we can only tell you what we think.
But I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid of a white American culture being usurped because I don't think it would happen. At this point, I'd say there's more of a multicultural, racial blending occurring. We're not being stamped out militarily. If anything, the Western culture, Western civilization, if it's being usurped, it's being done so through genetically. It's being done through birth rates. But, these are things that, even though there's plenty of evidence that shows that this is real, you still can't really talk about this without being called a racist or all that kind of thing. It's not racist if it's true. It's racist to point out that it's true.
You are speaking about another race, race that is not your own, and you're only allowed to do that if the person on the receiving end is white and straight.
Yeah, basically.
When the internet was created, it was the place for people to put information that will never go away. And now it's the place where you can't find information because it's so piled up with bullshit.
That's the whole selection for societal sanity thing.
And you could argue, well, we are on the internet right now. You would be correct about that. But I feel I should be on the internet and have a voice on the internet because that's what society has created, that everyone needs a voice on the internet. And I'd rather try to drown out the idiots.
That's how everybody feels, right? Like everybody thinks that, well, I should be on the internet with an opinion. Right?
Yeah, call me Kanye.
How do you differentiate yourself?
Nations used to have great people, but now we have Kanye West, who is famous because of mental illness. America has become the bad guys. The American people don't deserve what happened to them.
Well, it's just a sign of the times, right? I mean, like everything has just been systematically dumbed down, where brilliance and ingenuity and intelligence have all just been stripped down to nothing. It's all about appealing to as many people as possible and trying to make people think less and consume more. The music industry. Think less, consume more. Don't think about the music you're listening to. Don't think of how reductive it is. Just nod your head. We made the beat for you. Just nod your head. That's all you gotta do. Say yes, nod your head. I don't have an answer. I don't have a solution to this.
Create a society that glorifies drinking and drugs and mental illness, and you get Kanye West.
I don't even know how much Kanye West has to do with that whole problem. That's just a ridiculous glorification of bullshit that has come as a result of consumerism. I mean, Kanye wouldn't be in the position he's in if it weren't for consumerism. I mean, that's true, but I don't even know if you can blame Kanye about the dumbing down of people anymore. And I guess his content is pretty dumb.
I can't even name a single Kanye West song.
I guess his music is pretty dumb.
I don't know. Let me look up some lyrics. I think I'm about done here. Any closing statements?
Not really. We're going to have to update more as things develop.
It's something to think about.
Those of you who watch this might listen to what we have to say if we appreciate it. It's a huge mess, and I feel like my thoughts on it are still pretty scattered because I don't really have enough information.
Yeah, so it's all speculation at this point. No one has any idea. We are reacting just like everyone else is.
We got lunatics running the show everywhere we go.
I don't know. It's all going to come crashing down on itself. We're all watching it happen, but it's apparently been going on since before we were born. Thanks for watching.
Kill them all, Adolf, all of them! Jew, Mexican, American, white! Kill them all! Start over! The experiment didn't work! That's where we're at!